A revolutionary. Say whoa. Trap revolutionary. Got the wave it too scary. Doing this thing like Malcolm ain't by any means necessary. We ain't got it by no one seen hand. We got the master plan. Get the movement going on. Right here where we stand, man. We bucking and stumping, fist pumping. Even though they tried to set us up for failure and kill us, we keep on coming. That's why somebody gotta step up and say something about the bullshit. Because if not, the blind gon' keep leaving.
Going on, y'all. Y'all want to make this video real quick about Ashley Jenae. You know what happened in Tanzania with her I don't know if you want to call him, her fiancé or whatever. But I was just wanting to talk about this because in my thinking, right? I'm saying it's a tragedy, in the sense that, she didn't get a chance to, it appeared that she was living her best life, right? But she didn't get a chance to live her best life because not only the tragedy that happened, but her thinking, you know what I'm saying? Her thinking led her to believe that, I guess guys with money and then white guys with money were better, and it led to her, being, they say it was, allegedly that they ruled it a suicide, but it's like, it's a possible homicide, and, because of the things that have been said about it, and a lot of things are not adding up, so, her fiance, her so-called fiance was like, supposed to be successful, I guess he founded, a company that invests in AI or whatever, had if I understand, like $100 million company. And that company was investing in AI, pretty much, technology. So, the company was successful, but then he eventually started losing money so much so to where, he's pretty much like his 100 million was gone.
In 2025, every single narrative failed for Bitcoin. And I got caught up in that. I think a lot of fund managers got caught up in that, and a lot of just retail investors got caught up in that. If you think of Bitcoin almost like a startup, it was around for roughly 15 years, and then it went public with its ETF, right? So in 2024, it was the IPO for Bitcoin. After that first year, they kind of turned into this semi-boring kind of enterprise-y business. And that was 2025 for Bitcoin.
The best conditions in Bitcoin's history. The most pro-crypto administration ever. Every catalyst you could ask for. And the market still broke. And the guy who ran the #1 performing hedge fund on the planet, well, he got caught up in it too. Joe McCann built Asymmetric into the top-ranked fund globally in 2024. Not just crypto, every asset class on Earth. When the playbook broke, he didn't go quiet. He shut down his liquid fund publicly.
That particular money was gone. And he was still trying to look rich, basically, after the money was gone. So a lot of things was said, even with them being on the resort or whatever, being in Tanzania, they were split up, and the thing about it was that it was said that he, Joe McCann or whatever, he actually frequented Tanzania a lot for the women.
Turns out he was moving differently, like someone who already knew the area real well. And here's where people started raising eyebrows. Word is, Joe would leave Ashley Jenae alone at the villa for long stretches of time. And locals are saying he was linking up with other women while out there. That sparked even more arguments between them, and witnesses are now speaking up about how often they saw Ashley upset. One person even said he would disappear for hours and come back like nothing happened, which made the situation even more heated. It doesn't stop there either. Joe McCann reportedly had a close contact in Zanzibar who has now been questioned as part of the investigation. And that's got people asking even more questions about what was really going on behind the scenes.
So basically, he played on a number of factors. Knowing that Tanzanian, people or whatever, they have, and that's through brainwashing, they have more of a reverence for white people. Not only that, they look at white men coming there as, wealthy men that have money, have means. Then in the culture is like, sex, basically sex trafficking, it's kind of like the sex industry is going on. Men coming there for sex, paying a little or nothing for, had to have sex with the local women, So that was one of the things that he was known for too. Also, he was known in that particular resort, I believe. He spent time there before, bringing Ashley or whatever. So, I believe it was Burden. I believe her real name was Burden. Bringing her there, he would come there. So basically, it was like three factors. He already had developed a relationship with the people at the hotel, which I guess propelled him to do whatever he was going to do, regardless, good or bad. Feeling like, hey, if anything happens, then he'll be protected, because the hotel staff, I guess he felt like maybe had them in his pocket or something. He's playing on a psychological brainwashing factor, for my people, looking at white people as and having more reverence for them, and so-called them having money or wealth, more so than anybody else, and also the women. Playing on the women, had coming there to basically for, to enjoy the sex, with the local women, paying and doing this thing with the local women. So, I think little bit to Ashley. I think she ended up finding out something in that regards, and then that's when the argument broke out, and that's when they had to be separated. Because what's understood is that they were arguing, going so loud. The neighbor was like, "Hey man, something's going on in this room. Call the front desk," and then that's when they just separated them, into different rooms. And that was as far as even all said, he was during the time, and she ended up missing and not posting. He was posting on his social media about investing or whatever. So. People were like questioning, like, bro, like, how you posting and, ain't nobody heard from your fiance, but you still on her posting, and you ain't said nothing about her, So people was getting at him in his post or whatever, right? So on X, I believe. So, yeah, a number of things were done, a number of things were said, but I think it's a tragedy in the sense that, like I said, she was so-called living her best life, but she didn't get a chance to live her best life, because I think not only some of the decisions she made, also talking about black men.
All right, hear me out. And maybe this is just me, but I just thought about it because I was driving on my way home. I'd really be ready to cut a nigga off over the smallest shit. Like, the littlest thing, I'd just be turned off, like, ugh.
Which was said that she, mentioned that, which I saw as well, a post that she said that, black men wake up every day just to make it bad for black women, to kind of like basically to talk down and just say something and make it bad, make it hard for black women, and basically like make a negative impact on black women every day. They get up. That's just what black men do, right? So, you know, she was doing things, I mean, that's for shock value. You know, that's a tragedy, you know, that actually you would even say anything like that, because not only does it cause harm to black men in the thoughts, you know, that especially that we have of ourselves, and what others would see and the thoughts that they would have, but I would say it's two-pronged. With your daddy was a black man, you know, and you talk down on black men like we are nothing. Your daddy was a black man, you know, so that's a tragedy, you know. And I would even say in that sense, you know, her dad failed her, you know. It's I don't care how old you get, but it's a parent's responsibility to correct if they need to. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how old, you know, like me, no matter how old I get. You know, my mother, my father can't correct me. It don't matter. I'm 51 years old. And that's out of respect for them and, you know, who they are and them being my parents. You know, so that'll never change. That dynamic will never change. And I think I have to say that in the sense of even saying that to other people. You know, like, man, to me, her dad failed her by not saying something. Like, hey, hold on. You talking about black men? Like wait a minute. You basically talking about me. You know, so yeah, it's a tragedy, man. You know what I'm saying? That happened. And I think that you know, never should have occurred in the first place. You know, you chasing men. I don't know. I don't say chasing men. You think men that got money don't have problems or won't harm you. That's the thing. Won't harm you. Won't do something, you know, to cause you harm. I mean, that's either she can be physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? So I would say it in that sense. It's like, man, it's a tragedy that she did not get a chance to live her best life, even though she thought she was living her best life. It's because of the decision she was making. She would think she was making the best decision. Get a man with money. Get a white man. You know what I'm saying? Because the black man ain't doing it. You know, I can go on these trips and, you know, I can live this type of life or whatever. You know, glamorizing that instead of being practical. And not letting all of that blind her, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that the man in them are losing so much money to where he wasn't having money no more. And even with me, I would even say my thoughts of it is like him not having money, him losing money from his company, pretty much losing those millions of dollars that when the market had went bad, from my opinion, was that, okay, I'm gonna have to do something I can't go on with the facade anymore. So I got to get rid of her because I can't pay for no lavish wedding. You know, I can't pay for I can't continue to pay for these lavish trips or whatever it may be. So that may have been a thought in his mind too. Like, hey, I got to go off her, man, because she wants too much. I can't keep up. I can't keep up the facade. You know what I'm saying? I can't keep going on these trips and providing this money or whatever it may be to live the life that she think we gonna live or that she thinks she's gonna live off of me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's a tragedy that happened, man. I truly hate that, man, because she didn't get a chance to live her best life. She thought she was, but she didn't get a chance to. You know what I'm saying? And I would say that's a caveat to even other women out there. You know, like, hey, man, you know, be really thinking and try to have an understanding beyond money, you know, or somebody having money that can do whatever for you, you know, because it's a lot of us men I heard, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, money or may, you know, be middle class, where I'm not rich, doing okay though, you know what I'm saying, that could put, you know, do right by you instead of, like, you know, you looking at somebody like, oh, well, they got all this money and then, yeah, I'm gonna get with them, you know, I'm gonna try to, you know, find my way in today's world, you know, and it don't work out. Something happens to where, you know, you misjudged something, you overlooked something, because you was blinded by the money. You was blinded by them having so-called resources or whatever, and you didn't consider everything. So I would say it in that sense, man, like come on now, we gotta do better in that sense. And then men, for real, with your daughters, man. I ain't got no daughter, I don't got no kids, but at the same time, like, yes, I'll do to correct though. If our children are doing something and especially if you offending other people, you offending other black men. You know what I'm saying? By saying those things, and encouraging young black women to overlook their counterparts, overlook young black men, and be searching for a rich white man somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean they there, but somewhere. And you have impacted young black women to where they start thinking irrationally and illogically, and basically disillusioned. You know what I'm saying? They really, really are. Like they're pretty much like, delusional. You know what I'm saying? You have given them a sense of delusion. When the fact that the dude you chose ran out of money, and like I said, it could have led to him just like, you know what, I gotta go and get rid of her. I ain't got no more money. It ain't the story. The facade is over. You know what I'm saying? It's not even. I can't go on front no longer. So that probably drove his inner anger. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. Like, how you gonna talk to me? You can't. You can't make me do this, or I'm upset about me really not having the money that you think I got, that I'm, portraying that I have, But yeah, anyway, I just want to make this short video on that, man, because like I said, it's just it's unfortunate that happened, man. And I just, man, like, dang, like, and condolences to her, her and her family, that's unfortunate, man. It's very unfortunate that happened, within that situation. So, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate, man. I wish her family would have possibly guided her, in a better way. Guided her in a better way, possibly would have, I don't know, man, maybe said something to her, about how she was moving, especially saying, saying what she was saying, to black men or whatever. I think in that sense, it just could have been, man. It just could have been a better situation. So, that's how I would say, Joe McCann and Ashley Jenae. Her last name was real name Robinson, Ashley Robinson. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think about that, man. I just really hate it. It's tragedy on both ends. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, condolences to her and her family. I know that her so-called fiancé, say Joe McCann or whatever, he needs to face charges. If it comes to be that particular, what people are saying, that actually, and I think as well, that Pac could have not really, alleged suicide was really an alleged homicide. You know what I'm saying? I would, I agree with, what was said. Like it's no way that you just go somewhere like that and then, you decide to kill yourself, for some reason. And then, you actually had a incident with your so-called fiancé and y'all had to be separated. And you just kill yourself. Like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem right. and the fact that, he was coming to Tanzania. He was already familiar with the area. He was coming there basically for, you engaging in sex travel. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're coming there for. You're known there. You're playing on so many different levels, to where, and you maybe feel like you're protected if you do, do anything, that's criminal. You know what I'm saying? You already been doing, pretty much going over there, doing it in this, like I said, for sex travel. So you probably already had the mindset like, hey man, I'm already doing my thing. I'm pretty much, people know me and I got money. I'm just pay somebody off. I get away with it anyway, so, but yeah, I just want to say that, man, I like I said, my condolences to the family, rest in peace to Ashley. I wish I wish I was talking about something else, not something like this, and like I said, to all the sisters out there, man, you know what I'm saying? I would say, hey man, just, watch yourself, just because somebody got money, that don't mean they won't harm you, for real, so, and especially somebody from another race like that, you know what I'm saying? You touting another race, like they just, the best thing in the world, you know what I'm saying? But I would say, man, brother, we do some stuff, man, messed up. I've done some stuff that messed up, and man, most time we gonna put our hands on you, we ain't gonna kill you. And I would even be willing to put up statistics on that. That's just not what we do, man. Most of us are gonna walk away from it. We're gonna get away from it. If it's a problem, we're getting away from it. And that's just what it is, and not trying to put our hands on you and kill you. It's like, but anyway, man, let me get up out here. I don't want to, go on about that because there's just so much, I could say. But I do want to just say, man, to the black women out there, man, hey, man, we love y'all. And, we just wish y'all to love us back, and not down us or whatever, because we might be struggling in the world or going through some things, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real, man. So I just want to say that, man, you know what I'm saying? We love y'all, man. We just ask y'all to love us back, man. And let's, work together, man, for real. And from this tragedy, heal from it, as a community and as a whole, be better and towards each other, and for each other, and just, do right by each other. But anyway, and to get up out here, I just want to say that, you know what I'm saying? And, just shed some light on it. I hope, y'all out there, y'all doing well, living life for love and happiness, doing great, striving for greatness every day. And, just doing well. But we get up out here to the next one, y'all. Appreciate y'all looking at my videos, liking, sharing, or whatever. To the next one, y'all. Love y'all. All right, y'all.
Fuck it, go ahead and blow off the dough. Step through the maze, man, and became amazing. About to rewrite history and change a page in a crooked book that never told us the true story. Like how we were kings and queens before the slave story, before the killing, stealing, and drug dealing on some real shit. We ran the world.